It's that time of the week again. Let's kick it off proper. 7 Days of Wisdom, episode 38, Sunday, August 14th, 2016, 9:28 p.m. Let's get started. I'm your host, Aquaus Kelley. This week we'll be discussing a few things from, my post, sometimes rants, not really rants, but my shares for the week on Facebook. So, opening it up, spoke about complaining earlier this week, the 9th, which was Tuesday actually, and how complaining only makes us feel better when we're around other people who complain. Think about it. When we're in an environment where our co-workers complain, our friends complain, our families complain, then we may feel better ourselves when we complain. They may give us an excuse to complain and feel comfortable about it. So, in that manner, we would have to look at things like, if I'm in an environment where complaining is condoned, what does that say about my environment? Because I know if I'm in an environment where complaining is not condoned, it's only a matter of time before, one, I either stop complaining, or two, I'm no longer in that environment. Whether I get kicked out because people don't want to hear me complain, or people don't want to hear us complain, or I just leave because I want to complain and I want to be around other people who complain. So, either way, it's no good. Complaining is no good. Complaining doesn't solve anything. And right now I'm complaining about complaining, but I'm really not. I'm just discussing what we observe in our day-to-day and breaking it down. Like, think about it. What does complaining solve? Has complaining ever solved anything before? Let's think about it. Nothing I know. If you know something that complaining has solved before, feel free to shoot me a message. Feel free to leave a comment. But I don't know any situation in which complaining played a resolving factor. So, let's stop complaining. It doesn't solve anything. Let's complain less, do more, or just complain not at all and do more. It's always up to us to change the situation. So let's focus more energy on being proactive in regards to changing whatever situation we're complaining about, and move on from there. So let's start this week. Tomorrow's the 15th. Let's start this week going in with the mindset that we're not going to complain. We're going to do it. We're going to solve our problems, resolve our problems, and if we can't do that, we're going to be quiet about it. Nah, but for real, just stop complaining. If you feel the need to complain, shoot me a message and we can talk it out. Next up, doing things the right way and the wrong way. And a lot of times, we may think, what's really right? Or, who says what's right from wrong? It could be relative. Who really determines what is right? And there was actually someone on Twitter who asked a similar question in regards to who sets the standard for what's right. And I feel as though, in a way, we do. We feel deep down inside kind of what's right from wrong in some regard. Our intuition, our instinct how we feel when we make certain how we make certain decisions, or better yet, the repercussions from making certain decisions can typically tell us what's right from what's wrong. You know, if we do something and the repercussion is bad, then obviously, there's something wrong about what we did. So sometimes it can be in hindsight. Sometimes we feel it before we do it, like, doesn't really feel like the right thing to do. And I feel as though when we go about doing things the right way, it's only a matter of time before we win. When we go about doing things the wrong way, it's only a matter of time before we lose. You know, so it's important that we continue to do what we feel is right for ourselves, so that, you know, we eventually break through for the win. And if we cheat, if we do what's wrong, and we cut corners, and we may win the first few times, the first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7, 8, 10 times, we may win, but eventually it will catch up to you. So when we do what is right, it's only a matter of time that we will win. And most of the time, when we break through for that win, it's a sustainable win. When we do what is wrong, we may have those short-term temporary wins, but once we lose, it's going to be a very, very big loss. Maybe a loss that's difficult to come back from, if not impossible. So let's continue doing what's right, what we feel is right. We all make mistakes, of course. Don't get it twisted. You know, no one's perfect. We're gonna mess up. But as long as we have the right intentions, not the wrong intentions, and that's another thing, is the intention behind something that can determine, you know, what's right from wrong. It's the intention. So what are our intentions is something else that we can throw into that conversation. So let's live life intentionally, make decisions intentionally, you know, ask what is the reason for doing this, and approach things from that perspective. So let's do what's right, let's try, let's not afraid, let's not fear failing, and just keep good intentions and good spirits throughout our day-to-day actions, interactions, and travels. Talked a little bit about branding again, branded content, and the importance of brands who value user-generated content and engaging with their audience. So that's a little bit of something I dropped on the brand side. Wrote an article this past week in regards to Wegmans and them not having an Instagram account, which is pretty shocking. If they were a client of mine, I would definitely be all up in that. Like, y'all need to figure this out. But yeah. Branding, user-generated content every day. So as a brand, right? Let's say we're a Coach, Mercedes-Benz. It could be any brand, any product brand. There's so many users using your brand, taking pictures, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, tagging, mentioning your brand's name in content nowadays, that for us as a brand not to engage with the audience, the consumers that are supporting our brand, is a shame. It's not that difficult to have a social media team who's responsible and tasked with the responsibility of engaging with the people who are supporting your brand, supporting your products, supporting your services. I go on Instagram, I could go to a brand's profile, click on the little icon to the far right, to see all of the pictures they were tagged in throughout the weeks, months, days, years, engage with the consumers that are tagging these photos. Like, hey, I love the photo. Hey, I love the particular product. You know, so if I can do that as a brand strategist, why can't companies do it? So that's one of the white spaces that I'm currently identifying. That's a whole nother conversation. But if you're interested in talking more about branding, brand strategy, definitely shoot me a message, shoot me a content. It's something I'm currently working on while I'm building up a lover's ambition as a brand development agency. So I just wanted to share that real quick as an insight. So Instagram is amazing. I mean, location search, you can literally type in like Pathmark, or you can type in the name of a venue. You could type in Apple HQ, right? And literally see all the pictures that were posted in a particular location, whether it's an office building, whether it's a school, wherever it is, and see the kind of people who frequent that location. It's a great way to build relationships with people who may work at a certain company, right? It's a great way to, see what kind of people are partying at a particular venue or club space, right? If you work in the entertainment industry, there's no reason, no excuse not to be able to connect with certain people. It's just a matter of being strategic, being savvy, having something to offer. And this is why I always mention the importance of having a website, sharing our story, because when we can connect with people through social, we can then have that relationship and then take that conversation from us connecting with someone. Hey, I came across you on Instagram. I read this article. I really like when you mentioned so-and-so. How about you check this out on my website? Once they go to your website, they see your work, they check out that one article. Next thing you know, they see the related post to that one article, and they're liking a few different articles. Next thing you know, hey, I want to hop on a phone call with you. Let's do lunch, right? Relationship building. All right, moving on. Wegmans, spoke about that. Step by step. Every step forward is a step closer from where we are to where we would like to be. This was August 11th, Thursday. I posted that. Self-explanatory. It's just about taking those steps. Every step we take moving forward is a step closer to where we want to be. It's all about progress. All about progress. All about journey. That's all it's about. So let's take those incremental steps. Patience. It's a marathon. Let's not look at this like a sprint. The game of life is a marathon. Years on years. Sometimes in our 20s we lack so much patience. Like, what's the rush? You start working at 22, 23. Usually when we enter our career, the work field, we're working for what? 25, 30, 35, 40 years? Most of the time we're doing the same thing. What's the rush? Really? What's the rush? Right? Where are you going? So let's really just process what we're going through in our lives while we're continuing to learn, continuing to build, continuing to take those steps towards our journey, wherever that journey, whatever the aspirations of that journey is, and really be at one with ourselves. Society sometimes can put us up against the wall as if we're limited. Our time is limited, but our time is limited in regards to achieving something. Like, oh, you're 30, you're too old to do this, you're 35, 40. No, you're not too old. Some things you are too old, yeah. You know, sports, for example, being an athlete, I mean, it does have an expiration date. But when we talk about just living life, I mean, building something for ourselves, building a company, whatever it is, building something of purpose and significance, there's really no expiration date on that. The only expiration date on building something of meaning and purpose and significance is your tombstone. You know, but hopefully we're living prosperous lives that last 80, 85, 90 years. So ideally, we have enough time. So let's really look at things for the long run, for the long haul. There's no rush. Let's think purpose. Let's think significance. Let's think legacy. Legacy, legacy, legacy. Let's think legacy. Next up, being a morning person or a night person right now, 16 minutes to 10. I'm prepared. My alarm's going off at 4 in the morning, Monday morning. I get excited on Monday mornings for some reason, just to start the week off strong. Go against the status quo that Monday mornings suck. Just taking control of my life, just like we all can take control of our lives. It's something I really push for and strive to. So I don't consider myself to be a morning person or a night person. I consider myself to be a productivity person. What I mean by that is whatever I feel yields the most productivity at any point in time, that's what I'm about. If that's at night, where I'm on a streak, I'm up 2, 3 in the morning. I'm working on something, I'm hot, I'm momentum driven, I keep it going. Otherwise, for the most part, I do enjoy waking up in the mornings, only because, you know, it helps to set you up for a productive day. So if I feel as though my evenings aren't as productive, I will decide to invest my time in sleeping as opposed to staying up and doing nothing, so that I can wake up early the next morning and start a productive day. So that's what I mean by I'm not a morning person or a night person. I'm a productivity person. Whatever I feel allows me to be most productive, that's what I'm about. If I'm out and about in the city, handling business, at an event, at a show, shaking hands, then I'm being productive. Although it's late at night, as long as I'm productive, I'm good. You know, and then the next day I'll wake up a little later, 7, 8 in the morning. Sometimes waking up at 6 in the morning feels late to me. So it all varies. It's just about productivity. Let's focus on being productive. Let's not lock ourselves into, oh, I'm a night person, oh, I'm a morning person. Let's be more fluid. Focus on productivity. Everything else will work itself out. Forget morning, forget night. Just be productive. Next up, have a playlist on Spotify that's available. So for those of you on Spotify, if you want some cool, smooth, new tunes, if you're just curious about the kind of music I'm into, what really moves me, check out my playlist on Spotify, A Lover's Ambition, hashtag A Lover's Ambition. I actually just renamed it. You could probably search me up too, Aquaus Kelley, Aquaus Kelley on Spotify. Have access to my playlist. Feel free to check those out. And finally, today, well, this incident happened yesterday where I was doing Uber. I picked up a dude from Russia, and I asked him, you know, what are your thoughts on being in the U.S.? And he said, as a kid, living where he lived, he's like, for him to come to the U.S. is almost like going to the moon. As a kid in Russia, they would dream about coming to the U.S. As if coming to the U.S. was like going to the moon. And when I heard that, I thought to myself, we're born in the U.S. So many of us take our citizenship for granted. There are people who would do anything to become a U.S. citizen, yet those of us who were born here in the U.S. take a lot for granted, take our citizenship for granted. That's why a lot of people, a lot of foreign people who come in, they outwork us. They're outworking us. They're starting businesses. They're very successful. They're just outworking us. So let's stop complaining. Let's be grateful for where we are and the opportunities that we have here in our own homeland. Let's start taking advantage, you know? And we have a lot to learn from foreigners coming in. We have a lot to learn. They could teach us a lot about work ethic. They could teach us a lot about perspective. So let's be grateful and let's continue to learn and become better at whatever it is we do, whatever it is we feel we need to become better at. With that being said, I'm Aquaus Kelley, 7 Days of Wisdom, episode 38, Sunday, April 14th, 2016. It's been a pleasure. Once again, have an impactful week. A Lover's Ambition Lifestyle Group. Peace and love.